that's in here, in the FAQ, but they're still running on the draft version. And I don't think that when it says the council will be limited by sections of the statute and would be required when making up the next tax bill to levy a tax of 5% or such multiple of 5, in addition to the tax that was already voted to be levied on the grand list, which makes it sound like it's just the 1 year. And when I looked at the statute, it used that language. So who gave us the 5-year to begin with, on what basis? And then, is this correct? Because this would seem to say you have to pay up in a year.
I think this version, isn't this the version? Can you hand me a copy of it, please?
This is the version
that says there are 2 options, final. Either 1 year or
1 year.
1 year at multiples of, no, I thought it said, help me find it.
It only says on the next tax bill to levy a tax of 5%.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 12, the last paragraph. Now what that language reads to me that you can levy a tax of 5% or 10% or 15% or 20% in addition to the tax already voted for that year to be levied on the grand list.
Not over 5 years, over 1 year.
Not over 5 years, over 1 year. So I don't know who told us.
So
5
that
years.
is the most significant change that was made.
Yes.
By SPNF. So that's the one the attorneys, the city attorneys.
So
that's the one I think I trust to be the actual information coming from what the charter requirements.
Who told us 5 years to begin with?
I don't remember now. I thought we.
I'm going through it's great that you picked up on that because that was what this email.
So the video has to be changed.
Yep.
To include that. But I don't really know the difference between 1 and 2. I mean, 1 basically says you got to pay it off in 1 year, and 2 basically says you've got to pay it off in 1 year.
Yeah, I confess that I'm a little confused by the language in the second option. Like, I don't really understand. It's clearly legalese referring to the very specific language of the charter. Chip, do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's actually in state statute for debt obligations, deficit obligations. Refers to by the governing board can pay off over no less than 5 years in increments equating to 5% values.
I don't see the 5 year.
To pay off 20% a year for 5 years.
That was what I thought. And so it may be that we actually lost the nuance that we had when SPNF gave us that most recent revision.
I think so.
Because I think that is the difference. It's supposed to be...
Yes.
It doesn't say that in the statute, though, so I'd like somebody to show me the 5 years.
Can somebody look it up?
In the statute.
Let's find out.
I looked it up.
So what's it say in the statute? Let's look it up and read it together.
It says this language, and it doesn't say anything about it being paid off over a 5-year period. And maybe the statute was changed at some point, and they left out the thought that you had 5 years to pay it.
Let's find it and read it. Because this was the only significant change, really, other than the little tiny fine print at the very end.
Yes.
That's the
disclaimer.
We're not responsible disclaimer. But those were the 2 major things that SPNF sent back to us.
Right, the comment. Did you find it? Let me make sure I'm looking at between emails.
And I think we could just run the same thing through. I hope we don't lose the tone, because I actually think this podcast gets the tone just the way I want it, right? Which is to say, using simplified examples. Like, oh yeah, it's like running up your credit card bill.
Right.
I think we have to I think the big thing is referring back to, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 53 of this title, and then going through, making sure we understand all the provisions.
Yeah, I read 53. 53 was just general language about loans, and it had nothing to do with how many years you had.
So
But do you see any language in 24 Vermont Statute 1523A that would suggest you have 5 years? I don't.
Well, I have to read chapter 50.
No, I don't see it, but I seem to recall that Dave said,
Dave who?
Dave Rue from
said
SBA.
something about 5 years in the meeting, in the council
He
meeting.
did, but I think he's revised it based upon reading this. And maybe that was the old rule.
Because I remember as soon as he said it, I thought, we have got to go back there and listen to what he said. And then
So one way to handle it, if what I understand, I think you're right, Ann, that this is problematic. And one way to handle it is that what we've really got here is not two different ways to handle it, but two different requirements that are in fact in sync with one another.
Yes.
One is a requirement from the charter that says it's got to be paid in a year, and the other is the statement from the state that says, yes, it's got to be paid in a year, and here are the specifics of how you do it.
Yes.
Right, and with the multiples of 5% on the regular.
Well, yeah, because all it says is to be levied upon the grand list of such town as will provide sufficient revenue to liquidate each deficit, to liquidate such deficit. So when they say 5%, multiples
Okay, so-
of 5,
Yeah, if
we
you.
have to look at the amount of the deficit and figure out the tax rate at every increment of 5 to find out how it's gonna be covered. Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it
It's
20%?
1.8 million that you're talking about that you
Yeah.
got to pay out
Right.
over the 1 year.
In effect, if I understand it correctly, what it's really saying is if this council does not move to resolve this because of its own charter, the state will require the following. And it's basically the same, right?
That's what I think, unless Dave Rue was originally talking about an old statute, or he got his rules wrong with respect to what the 5-year rule applied to, but is changing it up to this.
I think we could sort this out. The problem is Dave's not available till Monday, but I think I could probably try and get him on the phone and just make sure, and then we could just change that part of the language on Monday.
But you would have to change the video.
Well, we'll just feed the whole thing into the AI again and see if it comes out as good. I mean, that's,
Well, I mean, that's the nature. I mean, there are a few places that it could use a little word crafting, and you just have to, if it runs like a chat GPT or one of those, all I have to do is tell it, I don't like this phrase on this section,
and it'll change it.
and it'll change it, the verbiage to that. That shouldn't be overly, because I'm assuming they're using more.
How do you get this, how are you getting that out?
I don't know. Like everything else, we're just gonna, I think we would wing it. And social media, I mean, what I like about the podcast is I think it will reach a whole lot of people who will not read this document no matter how we write it, right? And I think, so Felicia did this little booklet style, which I think is better than just
It is, yes.
something else. So I'm glad to have it, but I think the way to do it is just refeed it again and then give it to Pam and Lori and let them social media the heck out of it.
oh joy.
Okay, so I'll make that change. Hi. Flip this one right here. Sorry for my clutter. It's good to see you. Okay.
By the way, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm no longer a lawyer since I've been retired.
Speaking of
so-
fine print
But
disclaimers.
I'm just as a citizen reading what you wrote,
Yeah.
what she wrote.
I was more confused by the second round than I was by the first one, but I think that's because the first one was wrong. So, okay.
So, Monday evening is we secured the location of the North Country Career Center. They have a really great space on their first floor. That's lined up. I just want to give a little just appreciation moment to Lori for arranging just the logistics of that and having snacks. So keep spreading the word. We'll push it on social media. It's on the website, on the,
It has now been put on the website.
It's already on social media.
great.
Monday night at 6 over at the high school, North
Food
Country.
included.
Food, light refreshments provided. And so, yes, please spread the word, because it's really just about getting people in the door, or at least having conversations.
So how do we want to handle
Yeah,
that
I was
agenda,
like-
right?
Because we've kind of gone back and forth, and I just want to be super clear on who's available to speak and answer questions that night, who's able to attend, who would like to be leading the discussion, who wants to be
So
supportive.
this coming Monday, right?
It is this Monday on the 28th, right? Yeah. 6th, 7th, yep, 28th. So yeah, are you
I can
available?
be there.
Great. And
I'll be there.
Gloria, I know you're available.
Well, I'm gonna pick up the food at like 5:15.
Yeah,
You're
you
definitely
are-
gonna be there.
You're locked in. All right. And then going back to who's leading and walking through the slides.
Lori and Hal and I did a thing yesterday
Yeah.
on my Newport notes that I thought was helpful, which is that
Yeah.
instead of having one person read through every warning, which just becomes, no matter who it is, kind of droning,
Absolutely.
we took turns describing them. So we could just and we didn't try to read the exact language, we tried to describe it in kind of layperson's language. And I think it was pretty effective. So we could do that, just have the members of the task force each take one and describe what it is that's going to be on the ballot, and then let it be. Just say, okay, now what questions are there that people would like to have answered, and see what comes up.
I like that. I like that.
Because I think that if we, like we did, we take one, we kind of talk about it in our own voice, not reading, because we can all read the article. We're summarizing how we got there and what we're asking for and how we got there. And really, we could go into, I guess if we wanted to, the frequently asked question of what happens if we don't pass this. And as we've laid out here, Article 1, this is what happens with Article 1.
It's up on YouTube, I'll post it across and I get up.
Great, it's already up on your channel.
So we could say, okay, for Article 1, the fact is that if the taxpayers have already approved the $800,000. So we're going to, the fire department is currently looking for funding, researching funding opportunities for the $800,000 bond that was already approved.
The council.
That the council approved.
No,
Well, I mean-
the council is looking. It's the council's
I'm
job
sorry,
to
the
secure the funding.
Okay, the council. And the additional $75,000 is requested to be rolled into that. If it's not approved, then we go back to the fire department and start looking at their budget and find money. I don't know any other way to put that, but that's what it looks like. So, I don't know how you feel about, I just think if we take each Article 1 at a time, we're less likely to run down rabbit holes, I think.
Yeah. And how the slides are laid out, it's great,
Oh, we have slides. Can we look at them?
Yeah,
Can we
yeah.
just review those?
Yeah, I sent them to you.
I've got them. I can read them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lorraine. You sent them in my regular box.
The city hall.
Okay, great.
I can forward it to the.
Who's sharing vegetables?
Pam is.
I'm sorry.
Are you sharing vegetables?
Yes, please. Yes,
Are you taking these
please.
home with you?
Yeah, we grow zucchini
You
like
want
we
the big
used to. You can't give it away fast
Yeah,
enough.
I know.
Let you go.
Can't eat it anymore.
Yeah, big one.
Being a
You want the
kid.
rest of them?
It's one of the most,
away the most is
I'll take yours.
good.
Has a mind of its
One of
own.
the most tasteless vegetables there are.
I'm with you.
Or a blank canvas for you to throw all the seasonings.
I know, it's like tofu, by itself it's useless, but we can make it flavorful.
Oh, I hope this is okay.
In general, when I listened through it, and I listened through it a little bit last night after some of the stuff is, I think we need to also make it really clear is the goal of this is to address the problems through this, this meeting is not about assessing blame or anything like that. It's just, I think that's going to be the big comment, and I think we all need to be clear that it's...
Who did it?
Yeah, this is not chop wood, start fires type of mentality. This is just about let's fix problems. And the rest of the stuff will get figured out.
And I'm not so sure that people are going to be satisfied with paying $2.8 million, plus have them having gone through a surplus over 10 years and depleted the surplus, and now we're negative $2.8 million and not have anyone named.
I don't think we can name anyone yet.
Yeah.
All I can say is that we know that it's exactly like what I've said in here.
You've named them.
We've basically already said
That's right.
that those in the city manager's office who worked on the budget in the fall of 2017, preparing the 2018-19 budget, made an error in the placement of the state. Well, anybody that's been here can ask the question. And if they want to know who's here, just like I did.
Yeah, and I should be clear. If folks start to turn it into a naming names, I will shut it down as mayor. I'll go to the microphone and say, this is not the purpose. If you want to understand what's on this ballot, that's the purpose of the evening. But I won't allow it to become a
witch hunt?
Yeah, well, whatever. I've got other things that I could say, but none of them are appropriate for TV. So
The fact is that the list of city council members are right in the beginning of that book, from back to we can look very clearly and see who was on the council from 2015 forward, and if people have questions.
And I would say, not to just deflect, but also just to pivot with the opportunity of saying this is what we're going to do differently. This is what the task force research we have done. This is how we have gathered this information. This is how we are moving forward and what we are going to be implementing. We do touch on it a little bit in the FAQ, but I think it will be a unique opportunity with all of us standing up there, kind of explaining the background of what's been going on.
I think that you guys know I'd be happy to sit up there and give my voice to the world. I have made a decision to not do that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Are you going to be filming, Pam? What are you thinking?
Am I going to be filming? Yes.
Okay, just
That was my plan.
I never want to assume, right? So I just wanted to make sure. Okay, great. So it'll be up on NEK-TV as well, which is great.
And I assume Joe will be there. Or Ed and/or.
No, I'm assuming that there will be members of the press there as well, which is great.
One is right?
I'm going to somewhere.
Yes.
So, okay, so I will open with a welcome and introduce the members of the task force. And then do you want to actually assign which task force member will do each of the...
Yeah.
And Lori, I guess I would say I'm not inclined to try and start off with each one of these by talking about what happens if they don't do it.
Okay.
I would prefer to just say, here's what we're asking for, do all 5 of those, and then let the community ask questions that we can answer in a straightforward manner if they come up.
That's fine. I'll work for me.
Who wants Article 1?
Travis, you want to take that?
The fire truck?
Actually, I was going to say that's probably the one that would be the best fit.
That's the one that makes the most sense.
Okay.
So we've had a little bit of pushback or concern in the community that hasn't the city council already approved money for the extra, and weren't we told it was in the budget? And my answer to that, just so that we're all clear about it, is the same answer we've given to everything else, which is, yes, we said that we were setting money aside. It was money that we didn't have. It didn't get done. That's true about every single one of the sinking funds that we've been uncommitting the funds from as well. So this is no different in my judgment than any of those.
takers for Article 2. And if nobody wants them, I'll take them.
Well, you did a great job with that. There.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Two?
Lori, what do you prefer?
I can do 2.
Sweet.
I'll be happy to do 2.
It's like Passover. Who knows 3? I know 3.
You said 3? You said you for 3?
No, okay, yeah, I'll do 3.
I'll take 4.
Do we know if Susie's going to be around?
I don't know for sure.
We can ask.
Yeah.
That would be perfect then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Carter would take 4,
Uh-huh.
Travis, you're gonna do 1?
and Susie, if she's here, will do 5.
Yeah.
But if she's not, I say we double, which one is which? Number 3, Hal, is the one on sewer, right?
No, number
No.
3 is the
3 is the
1.8.
one. The 1.8.
Yes, which is the one that we should
short
double back to. So Lori, Hal, if Susie's not there to speak to it, when we get to 5, Hal can just stand up
Yeah, I can.
and
Because
say,
they're really
yep,
the same
this is
thing.
what I talked about.
They're really the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just we're doing it
One we're
together.
doing in the immediate, and one is to address the past.
Yes.
And that's tied to 3, right?
That's what we're
Yes.
saying, right. That-
Like, would it, I missed that, is Hal going to,
Or Hal could just do them together at the
I was
same
gonna
time.
say,
Yeah, I can just say 3 and 5 are
they're linked?
intimately, together in the sense.
Yeah.
This is we're doing a small increase to address the immediate budget. This is the prior 1.8 is to address past budgets.
Yeah.
The one where 5 is because it's this year. Or this upcoming year.
So what's on this?
And I can make whatever changes we need to for this.
I scroll this down. Back here, hold on. Okay, so there's a summary of Article 1 that we can put up while Travis is speaking. There's a summary of Article 2 that fits on 1 page. Article 3 fits on 1 page. Article 4 is close, but fits on 1 page. And Article 5 is just a rerun. So then the question is, why is there an accumulated deficit? Do we want to do that one? I think it wouldn't hurt, probably. What happens if we don't pass them?
And are you looking at speaking to those slides, Rick? Because I think those are where really you kind of need to come in.
Sure, I could do that.
And say, now that we have this inside.
Do we have, I haven't thought to ask, anybody know if we've got equipment in that room to show on a large screen like this?
I was gonna call today and I totally didn't.
I can't believe they wouldn't have it.
They've certainly had a ton of presentations in there.
Yeah, we should be okay.
Yeah, and if it's not already in the room, it'll be somewhere nearby.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll just get there early.
yep. Okay, so we run through the slide presentation and then we just do Q&A and see what comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to do these. What I did was, when I did this, I took what I thought was the most important piece. Why is there an accumulated deficit? What happens if the voters don't approve it? I think there's another one in there, the next one down. How much is this going to impact the taxes? I tried to be pretty factual about that.
Can we just review while Eagle Eye Ann is in the room to help me and make sure that I've got this right in my head about what we haven't budgeted for to date? So the one, obviously the fire truck, we're adding $75,000, but the $800,000 was approved, and we have an amount in this year's budget, which was my attempt at a wild-ass guess, which appears to be fairly close, actually, to what we'll probably end up having to pay this year. I think it was $67,000 I put in the budget this year for payments on principal and interest starting in November. So that one we're covered.
Do we know what line that's in? I don't have my book here, but that was the,
It'll be in the fire
because it's,
department.
I got it. Because I'm struggling to figure out, is that under capital expenditures or is that
I think
under
it's
something else?
It could be under loan. Hold on 1 minute.
I think it might be.
Sorry.
That's a great question. Don't apologize. That's actually a good question. Jim, do we have more books?
I just left my book at home. I'm good.
I can look. Sometimes we have some left over, sometimes we don't.
if we have more books, we should take them. And then and then apologize for the fact that there's a page missing on the,
And various other omissions that
okay, so that's the first one. The second one, the 3 million, the payments on the,
Debt service, Ann.
It's under debt service, fire truck bond principal, it says. So really, and you didn't put anything in for fire truck bond interest.
I just lumped it all together.
67,880 is what you put in, and it's under debt service, generally, on page 29.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and the intention there, like so many things I was flying past, was I just combined those two and said, there's a wild ass guess, we'll put it in, hope that I'm right.
You didn't put it, you just, I mean, it's zeroed out, so you can tell, you can explain it by saying it's all in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's already there.
All right, and then on the water tower payment, that one's in there also, right? We do.
It's never hit the book because I don't think water was ever included in the book.
No, but that was
But we
the,
have a separate water and
Yes.
sewer budget. I'm just looking at the proposed one, and in the proposed one, under debt service as well, in the water section, it has new water tower, parentheses, estimated, as the description, and it has proposed over in 42526, 195,000.
That's
which is, I believe you calculated with John Manette's, or you were going to use John Manette's.
That's right.
Calculator.
Yeah. Okay, so the second one, we've already included. The third one,
so when I said, I think I changed that. Oh, no, the
sewer rates, oh no, that's not that one.
sewer rates will need to be, oh, the bottom one. Water rates have already been adjusted to the current quarter. So remember that when we adjusted,
Yes.
the committee adjusted the water rates, including that 190,000 or whatever that is, 195,000. They adjusted the water rates to include that, and it actually started in the quarter June, July, August to be billed September.
That's right.
I don't know when the loan is going to start, though. Will it start at least in this year, in this time?
The likelihood is that we will be paying on a short-term loan by October, so we should assume. And Lori, I wonder if it might make it easier if you put these in the same order as the articles. If you could move the bullet points.
On this screen? Sure.
Crazy question. Just because the water and sewer is so intimately entwined with all of this, what if those topics come up in this meeting and it's not something we're prepared to talk about? How do you want to address those
I suspect
issues?
we will have some water and sewer folks in the room, and if they aren't prepared to talk about it, I am.
Okay.
So we can handle those things if they come up. Or so are Pam and Ann. They've been in every meeting, and Lori for that matter. So
some of us were pitfalls around the issues, of course.
yes, that's right. They far more in-depth coverage than I had. So
Certainly an investment.
all right. So that takes us to number 3. Sewer rates will need to be adjusted to fund principal and interest on the $1 million loan to cover the accumulated deficit in the sewer fund. This is the one you said we did put in, right? Did you tell me that? Again, I thought. Did
Yeah, this is the 195.
No.
I'm sorry.
The 195 is for the water tower. This is I keep
No,
getting confused.
we never put in the sewer,
Okay.
million for the sewer because we didn't know that you were going to charge that then.
Right.
We're going to estimate it as that then.
Okay, so the answer is sewer rates are likely to have to be adjusted again in order to cover the payments on this one for the last 8 months of the fiscal year.
Is the goal to cover that all in 1 year?
No, principal and interest, right? Assuming we play this out over 20 years, that's the other thing we still don't know, is it is going to be a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year note. We'll have to adjust the rates to make sure we raise enough through the rates to cover the principal and interest payments for 3/4 of a year or 2/3. Right? Okay, so that's sewer. Oh, but that should be number 4. Lori, right?
Is it
Because
number 4? one
the
in
general fund deficit came, I'm sorry, which order are we in?
Article 4 is for the general operating budget to pay for the sewer fund expenses.
And Article 3 is for the sewer one.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's in the right order.
Accumulated by the general fund back to, that's just the, we haven't, just
Article 3 is the general
the
fund.
general fund, yeah, this is not necessarily.
Article 4
Is the sewer.
is the sewer. yes.
Sorry, the general operating budget to pay
Okay,
for
got
the
it.
sewer fund.
All right.
So in this
Versus the
list,
deficit.
the first bullet is number 3. The second bullet is number 4. The third bullet is number 1.
Yep,
And the fourth bullet is number 2.
correct. And you're going to put them in the right order.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, and then the one on the general fund also is not yet included anywhere because we don't know the terms of that note. So property taxes would have to be increased. No, we made a guess at that one, didn't we? In the general,
Are we talking about the one for this?
the
currently?
1.8?
Oh, no, that is the first one. That's the first one.
About the 1.8. when
No,
we
that's
made
right. At that point, we didn't know. Okay.
Here, there's, let me like,
I don't think
some email.
I can't believe I'm actually having trouble keeping these in my head because I was involved in all of them, but it's,
That's why.
yeah, my numbers are just floating all over now. And I want to be really careful not to misspeak to this question if it comes up. And I don't know why it wouldn't. Ann will ask it if nobody else does.
Yeah, I volunteer to ask all the questions.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Okay, so on that one, the 1.8. Well, let's talk about that for a second because we have passed a budget and set a rate for the current fiscal year, and the only change we've asked for in that rate is the
The 200.
$220,000.
So we're
Yes.
gonna, well,
You can't go back on the warnings now.
No, though. Hey, Chip, do you want to just say a word about your discovery this week, or what you think you discovered about the need for that fifth warning at all?
So I sent an email off, I think, to most members of the task force indicating that I was under the presumption that what the warning was for Article 3 for the city was an amount to be raised by taxation. And the warrant article only states a number of the amount of general government expenditures. It does not name a number to be raised by taxes. It doesn't say there's other sources of revenue. It just says they have the ability to set a rate to make up the differences. So there is not a set number that was voted on to be raised by taxes. There may or may not be an inference by the budget presentation in the annual report for the proposed budget of an amount to be raised by taxes. But the warrant article just says a total expense budget, which meant to set the tax rate, it's whatever amount is necessary to make up the difference between your expenditures and other sources. And in that same email, I also suggested that in the future, you name those numbers in the article so it is clear what the voters are doing. But I was under the impression the only thing voted on was the amount to be raised by taxes. And in fact, that's not even a number in the motion.
are you talking about Article 3?
No, he's talking about 5.
Oh, 5.
But it was Article 3 in this last town meeting ballot. That's why,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why you heard Article 3.
Okay.
Just-
Yeah, not these articles for the 12th, but
Okay.
your actual March 5th town
Oh,
meeting
sorry.
article was
Sorry,
number
I
3.
misunderstood.
But we talked about that, and the charter makes it very clear that if the city is thinking that it cannot pay all of its bills with the amount that the citizens had approved, that it must come back to the citizens, originally at a special meeting, but now we do it by Australian ballot, and ask for the extra money. So we only approved that the city could spend whatever amount we said. And the charter says if you want to go above that, go back to the citizens and ask them for the extra money. So that's why we came back and we asked them for the extra 200 and some odd to cover the municipal state adjustment. If we didn't think about the extra 1.8 million at that point, it's not that they have to pay an extra 1.8 million in the year. They have to pay the 1.8 million over a period of time. So either we eat it in the current budget by not spending money on something else, what a novelty, or we have to come back at another meeting eventually, or another vote eventually, and ask them for the 1.8. The 1.8 million over a 20 or 30 year period should be only another, is it
Well, if you think about it, it's
100,000?
90,000. It'd be over 20 years. It'd be about $90,000 principal each year, and then if you're carrying a 7%, it's going to be 40 divided by 12. So it's going to be about call it $120,000 a year.
For the year, but only 2/3 of which we would be making payments on in this year, because we
Yes.
won't arrange it until the middle of the second
Yeah.
quarter. So we're looking at somewhere around an $80,000 or $90,000 hit.
Yeah.
And I'm looking I'm sorry, Joseph, you want to speak before I go on? I'm looking right now at the section of our budget called capital expenditures, right? Which is the continuation of this habit we have of saying, we have no money, but we're going to put some of that money we don't have aside that Chip keeps calling us out on. And, we've got $170,000 in here for public works, vehicles, and equipment. There's a whole long list. I'm not reading all of them, obviously. Recreational vehicle and equipment is 20 grand. I suspect that that's the place we're going to find enough float in this budget. We may have to decommit some funds the same way we have this last year on the long-term capital purchases in order to make sure we're covering that debt. But I would not, in no way recommend that we bring up, that we'd have to come back to the voters again. I don't think that's appropriate. We're just going to say, yes, if you approve this, we're going to figure out how to make the current budget work to make the debt service payments on that.
State statute also allows you to defer your first payment no more than 1 year.
Yeah.
So
Really?
you could move it, yes. So you could move it to happen in the next budget, and you just have to have the bank agree with you.
And the same thing with the fire truck. It's the same thing with the fire truck.
Okay.
Andrew and I talked about that. You can defer your first payment a year. It's not, in banking and interest, you want to pay what you can up front to take off some of the interest payment. But if you have to, you have to.
So I'm going to go down in history as never pay Ufford Chase. So. I'm not looking for that one.
No, but that is the point, though.
I get it.
If we don't have to get the loan for the fire truck until, October, November, and we can defer it and make the first payment in July.
Yeah. Okay. So there's enough room to mess around with that when we come down to the wire in September and we're negotiating with the bank.
Just had a question. When we take delivery of the new fire truck, are we doing anything with existing equipment?
Yes, but I don't know the ins and outs of it.
Okay, I just didn't know.
There's a rotation that's going on over there, but I don't understand it.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I'm assuming that they budgeted for some kind of. I mean, I know there's a big resale market and
They are.
equipment. So okay.
Yeah. There's a big but not lucrative resale.
No, but Even if it's 5% of an $800,000 truck.
I know, Hal. We're going to see it in your front yard. It is a...
Yeah, I'll be driving it at every parade.
Well, out of curiosity, do we know what the 75,000 in equipment was for? Are these
Yes.
like extrication tools or what?
No, not extra. It's things like hoses and clips and just all the extra stuff.
Stuff that makes a fire truck a fire truck.
It's stuff that
So
makes
they're
fire truck
not,
work.
they're not pulling this off their truck that's going out?
So I want to be really careful.
I don't
If
know.
this comes up, I don't want to go down this road because none of us around this table have enough information to answer it correctly, and it's a matter of contention in the community
Yeah.
because there was political infighting about the conversation when it came up the first time. So if the answer is, as far as the council is concerned and this task force is concerned, the truck was an $800,000 buy when we arranged to do the bond 3 years ago. We had to delay. The new cost is $875. That's what we're doing here. Because otherwise we're back into a conversation that involves at least one, maybe several former chiefs, and there has been some real difference of opinion about it.
Yep.
Joseph, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to Article 5 for 1 second. If I understand what Mr. Stearns is saying, the issue isn't one of raising more money. The issue, that is to say, adding 200 some odd thousand to the budget. What it really is that when you say to raise taxes to meet these expenses, you've done a erroneous calculation, which means that your first try at the tax rate was wrong.
I think that's a very good way to describe it, actually. I think that's right.
Okay.
Yes, because we're not raising the total amount of the budget. We just thought we had $200,000 more in income than we had. Therefore, we set the tax rate too low.
So really, asking for this authority is kind of like a suspenders and belt thing. You
What is that?
could do it without asking, but
It's a courtesy in that way, right? It's a CYA.
No, you have to go back.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a courtesy.
I think we have
It's
to.
what Chip's saying is that if he's reading it correctly, in fact, it's not required. Having said that, it makes no sense for any of us to try and make that argument. What we're trying to aim for here is more transparency in every moment, and that's what we're doing.
no, I'm not arguing
Yeah,
against
but you're-
doing it. I'm just,
The way you describe it is exactly right.
okay.
Yeah,
Clarifying questions are always welcome.
no kidding.
Yeah.
We in Standard, we made a mistake like that every year for many years, but we went the other way. We ended up with more money than we knew what to do.
Oh my God, that sounds so good to me.
I'll explain how it's done sometime.
Yes, I would really love to know, because if I can work that magic, that'd be amazing. Okay, I think that's it on this, right, Kurt?
Yeah. So everybody knows what they're talking about. Everybody's feeling good.
What time do we
with the
want to be
flow?
there on Monday?
1:45. I'll try and be over there by 5:30.
Okay. I was like, I could be there even earlier. So
It wouldn't hurt to
I'll
just
coordinate with Lori.
go make sure that we're set up on snacks and the AV's working, and
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be here for mayor's hours. If nobody's here, I'll just come over.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. This is a big thing. I'm like, I feel really good. I just wanted to say that and acknowledge it, and I appreciate the team and the background work. Truly, Lori.
And I will take care of going back to Kevin and Felicia and asking for help to try and
Great.
rewrite that little. I'll rewrite that little section and then ask them to rewrite the podcast.
Have you utilized the paper at all, or is that, because you had that mayor column?
We did, and we could do it again, but honestly, at this point, I think we're getting a lot of interest. I mean, Joseph has been covering
Yeah,
really well,
okay.
and the Express has been doing a good job of trying to cover it well. The Express has been showing up and covering it as well, so.
Yeah.
I think we're getting plenty of attention in the paper.
Great.
I think we've got plenty of social media attention. It might be helpful. I don't think Brian has run anything in the dispatch about this, has he? And I might be able to draft something very brief because people won't read something long on the internet.
Right.
But I might be able to do just kind of an overview piece with Brian. So I can make a note about that.
Okay. And if you
The last slide in here is
Yeah.
kind of what thoughts about going, what systemic changes. So I kind of changed it to thoughts on long-term systemic changes, or, just because we hadn't really come up, it was not something that we discussed particularly, just some general information,
I would just-
stuff that Susie kind of threw out.
Can you just say like potential changes? Just one line it so it's easier to read.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll.
And then
That's a great idea.
strengthen financial oversights. Budget process. I remember reading this, but not.
Lori, actually what I would recommend is that you take out everything that's not bolded.
Okay.
Just make those points bulleted, and because we can talk to each one of them, but nobody's really going to try and
Yep. Okay.
read them all probably.
And where it says other ideas, I would say just
I mean, I can take that out.
just even put like ongoing transparency and input, something like that. But I like the idea of saying, hey, this is all about making sure everyone's comfortable with what's going on.
Can we put up a pleasant picture like your first slide on the Q&A slide, just so they're looking at something other than a blue screen? Just go back and rerun that one again.
Which slide?
Didn't it have a picture of the lake or something, the first slide?
Yeah, that nice view of the city.
You want
Happy
just
thoughts. We're
like
thinking happy
something
thoughts.
Get Bob Ross painting the picture.
Yeah, right.
Right? I get to be like, and when I just do this over here,
Happy.
Yeah, right.
I can do my Bob Ross voice.
So, you want it on this slide, or you want it on?
Like on make a Q&A slide from
Just
the
that
bottom,
says-
that we'll scroll
oh,
through.
I
We'll just
see,
sit
and then
there
questions.
while we're taking questions.
Gotcha.
I feel like you could say questions or ideas. I'd be hearing
I love
about. Yeah, because where your other ideas, that's where you give voice to the audience, and I think that's valuable. If they're there, if they sat through, they might have questions, or they could have things that could support us. So.
I mean, somebody out there, we already know that people are thinking about other possibilities. So,
Right.
we're just not, I'm not gonna put them up here. If somebody wants to stand up and give it, that's fine, but
Great.
How many people do we think might be showing up to this? Anybody gonna?
get there early. I have food for 50. Sandwiches, wraps, fruit, and cheese and carbs.
I don't know. It could be 20.
can bring some
It
squash.
could be 100. It could be anything in between.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I've never been to one of these here. So.
Jim, what's
Oh, we had the night we had the hospital group down here, 200.
Yeah, it will not generate that kind
Packed
of heat.
into no, we won't, but I'm just saying we don't know it could happen.
Jim, what is a typical special election turnout here for voters?
At this special election, only 35 people showed up. You did 150.
So you may have really
Yeah.
slim margins deciding this.
I wanted 750 ballots. I thought it was going to be a big one, so we'll vote for
Good. Okay.
Awesome. All right, so communication channels are covered.
Yes, I think we're good for this.
Ready for this? Do you want to segue to our deep dive in expenses? And
Yeah. You want to start us?
Yeah, you want to go? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carter and I had a really interesting meeting, helpful meeting with Kathleen Ramsey today. She came here in person from Vermont League of Cities and Towns. She's like their municipal governance expert. She's done, her whole career has been in city management. She was on the city, she was a first assistant and then city manager in Middlebury for a total of 20 years. She's quite a remarkable person, and she's got lots of great ideas. And we spent the time trying to map out what we think would be steps in the direction of the most participative budgeting, most participative and transparent budgeting process possible. given the constraints that we have around time. And there are two pieces of the puzzle, and we want to just kind of lay these out and then have conversation with you all about it. The two pieces of the puzzle. One is that it's pretty clear that we should do a fairly careful investigation of the current year's budget sooner rather than later. Like I'm talking the next 6 weeks. We should be trying to do as deep a dive as possible. And we can talk about how to do that. She had some ideas about how to go about doing that. And then simultaneously be setting ourselves up for the next budgeting cycle, which would be for the year 26, 27, right? And eventually setting up actually for 27, 28. So here's what we kind of came to. In terms of the immediate deep dive, what we're talking about is going to the department heads and asking them, and maybe Chip with some help from you, to look at the transactions that have been coded to each line in the budget, so we can get a really careful understanding of what's in every line of our budget currently. And to match Chip's kind of ability to help us with that, with kind of the gut wisdom of our department heads. So the department heads would basically come back to us with a worksheet that says, here's what made up every line in my department's budget. And some of those, like Public Works is going to be a long list, right? But even, I mean, all of them are fairly long and complicated at this point. So we would start by doing that, and then we would do a careful look over the last 3 years, is what she's recommending, to see if there are anomalies that have happened over the last 3 years that we should be paying attention to. Was it one thing one year, something else the following year, whatever? Or was it consistent for 2 years and then a big change? And if so, can we explain the change, or do we need to do a deeper dive? So that was kind of the rough outline of what she was recommending. It's right in line with what the Water and Sewer Task Force is recommending, actually. Last night, their conversation was very similar, saying they want to see a similar, what they're asking for actually is a worksheet that we would create for every single line item in the water and sewer budgets that would have, if we do them by hand, we can eventually enter them into a computer, but it would have, like, at the top of the sheet, here's the code, here's the line item, here's what we think is in it, here are the 4 things that we think went into this, right? And then the goal is there too, to say, okay, at the end of the day, now that we know what went into this, is there anything that can't be explained by that? So that's her recommendation about how we get started. So maybe I'll pause there and just see if y'all have any comments or questions about that.
The only thing I would like to say is, and I recognize she's not starting until the end of August, but Carrie needs to be, in my opinion, in on every single one of those conversations.
Absolutely.
Because I think that she is in the absolute best position, being new, to ask questions and begin to learn and understand this in her role.
Yep. We would expect her not only to be in the conversation, but I suspect she'll actually be able to do a fair amount of kind of grunt work. So, like, if what Tom comes back with is, 85 sheets of individual paper on every line item, Carrie could do a lot of data entry work to help us turn that into a database that we can function with.
Well, I can tell you, if it's in our system, I can make it into Excel by line item in the detail of every year, so that no department head has to do it, they just got to review it.
Perfect. So that's where we start. Kathleen suggested that she thought you would be able to do that, Chip, so that's great.
And then honestly, keeping it digital is going to save so much hours for Carrie.
So if we can start with that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid having Tom or any of our department heads have to go through and create that spreadsheet. But if Chip can create it for us, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so Chip, what's reasonable? Like, is that something that you can do in a matter of minutes because it's just a bunch of buttons you push, or is it hours, or is it weeks?
Technically minutes, billable hours.
It would be hours, because the whole goal would be to only give a department head their accounts. But we know for some department heads, their accounts are spread out all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right. So what I said to Kathleen repeatedly today was, after audit visit, which is happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, is when the auditors are coming. So let's get through that. And then after that, we'll talk with Chip about helping us to get the department heads started on this process. Okay? And Chip, before I go on to the longer term budgeting stuff that we were talking about, do you want to say a word that about kind of what you and Carter and I think maybe Lori, I can't remember, have talked about in terms of the revision of the general ledger and how you see that happening?
So one of the questions of the general ledger is it organized in such a way that you're getting out of it information that is useful? An example that I provided during a conversation was there is a section in the chart of accounts that's referred to as an object. And for expenses, that object number should mean the same thing no matter what department or what fund it is in. And right now, something as simple as salaries can have any number of an object in it. And it's only from rote that Stacy knows what ones those whole account numbers are. And so in a restructuring, I did send to several people a spreadsheet that was done by the town of Halifax, which is a small town, but the concepts are the same. That objects need to be defined uniformly and used uniformly, and then a department gets defined and you assign appropriately the objects that department needs. And effectively, every department needs payroll and benefits. And so immediately you should be able to question the financials in a way that says, what is my total budget for salaries and benefits across all areas in the financial system? And that right now you cannot do. And that's primarily because when it started with Charlie in '96, those concepts weren't conceived because we didn't have all that stuff yet. And so it is time after almost 30 years that you look at line by line and say, what should this new number be? Who's responsible? And what is it as an object? And do I need more than one of them? Because the only thing that's kind of driving your present chart of accounts is the second two digits after the fund. And then after that, there is some resemblance of an account area, but there's a combination of department and account area that jumps different providers all over the place, different departments all over the place within the chart. And it's just inherently grown in an uncontrolled fashion. So we want to try to regain access to making it controllable.
Okay, so Chip, now that you know us and love us, and you know that you have our undying respect and appreciation for all of the work, and you also know that any dates you give us, we will not hold you to because life happens, can you give us a rough idea of when it would be reasonable to have that reformed general ledger in our hands so we could use it as a part of budgeting for next year?
So who wants to participate in the redesign?
Good question.
If you're asking me, shall I do that? Well, if I do that, you'll get my vision of how you should do your financials in the city, and that's not what the task force, that is what the task force is meant to take care of. And so I would think that we may want to have a meeting in which I present the ideas, and then one or two, Lori and Hal, take over designing a new chart of accounts.
Yeah,
And there are sections of it. I mean, the balance sheets all have to be uniform, and right now they're really not. The revenue streams typically are broken down in different classifications. Some love to have revenue by department, but I don't know where the city council gets any revenue. But they're a department to some people. So it is looking at the big picture and trying to say what makes segmental sense to be areas to group and subtotal by, so that a financial statement in front of the city council for general government is less than 2 pages long. It's
Boy, that
all
sounds like heaven, doesn't it?
subtitled.
That sounds amazing. So, go ahead, Hal.
I was just gonna say, the building of a chart of accounts, I mean, that's been around for 100+ years. I mean, just the way to number and everything and just put it into the computers, that's kind of stuff. I'm happy to help look over it and review it. I just think, and I haven't had a chance to Chip to look at anything you've done in the past week. It's just not been on my radar.
Okay,
Life
life happens.
yeah, exactly. Life happens. I'm just trying to think. If we're going back, we're not going to worry about anything going backwards, really, in the sense we're not going to renumber everything in the past. So
No, that's right. We're starting
this is
with,
just going to be a ground zero refresh.
Now, to an extent, we set aside everything that you've got now, and we do renumber what you have. You can choose to take 100 accounts that are expenditures you don't want anymore, renumber them all into the miscellaneous line.
Okay.
And the history will all just show miscellaneous, unless you look at the historic general ledger. Then you get all those lines are broken out.
Okay.
But you can segregate. You just can't break the line apart.
Yeah, no, I think just being simple, I mean, just the fact that when I look at the budget and I see salary and benefits, and I can't understand how one department has $4,000 in salaries and 20 people there.
okay.
Yes.
Yes, so, go ahead, Lori, and then I'm trying to figure out how to move us to the next step.
Yeah, I'm just, my head is wondering if, and I absolutely don't mind being a part of the conversation. Really, should we include at least one person from the treasurer's office and maybe you Carrie at some point?
Well, no, we're going to have this done before
Yeah,
Carrie comes in the door.
Okay, that's fine, but at least the treasurer's office.
Yes, so my recommendation would be that we give Chip and Hal and either Jim or Stacy, depending on how Jim wants to handle this, 2 weeks to do kind of an initial take at this, and then we dedicate the meeting 2 weeks from now to just this topic. And then see where we stand about what the next steps are. Does that sound? Because I'm thinking next week really is audit, and audit, right? So,
But I can start, next weekend would be a great weekend for me to look over stuff if we can pull something together, because I'm ditching my family for a weekend, so.
I love that. So you could maybe have one conversation with Chip
Yeah.
to kind of figure out where you want to start, and then
Yeah, Chip, if you can, we can get together on Thursday or Friday or something if you've got time.
Yeah, it would be Friday. I'm going to be in the city Monday and Tuesday next week.
here.
And then I'm going to be in another town Thursday, Friday with their auditors. And then Friday, I'm sitting back where I'm sitting now.
Let's say Thursday. So Friday you'll be back.
Yeah.
So if Hal and Chip, and if you can do it in the morning, would that work for you, Hal?
Yeah.
I'd recommend that you have Jim or Stacy or both sit in on that first conversation with you. And their office closes at noon or 11:30, noon?
Fridays?
On Fridays? Noon. So it'd have to be in the morning.
Yeah, no problem.
And then you would have another week to work on it before we would come back here on the, whatever that is, the 7th, I think, or something?
Yeah, Friday the 7th.
Friday the 7th.
Or is that 8th? I was saying it's Monday's the 4th.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay, we come back and this group would have a chance to look at it with you at that point. Does that sound okay, Chip?
Yeah, it's going to be quite a challenge because someone's got to make decisions over numbering schemes. But I'm hearing Hal, he's more than gung-ho to sit down with
What
a
time
case of wine.
what time on
and a pen.
Friday? What time on Friday?
9 in the morning.
Lock it in. Let's do
Okay.
Friday.
9
You want to do
o'clock.
it in the council room right here with the owl?
I have no idea how to set all this stuff up. That's my only concern, to do a conference call.
On Friday morning the 8th, I can make sure you're set up at 9 o'clock. No, that's not Friday the 8th, sorry. It's this coming Friday.
Yeah, that'd be Friday 1st.
Friday the 1st. Yes.
Friday the 1st.
I can come. I can come set you up, and then I'll walk away and let you all work on this. Okay. So Friday morning at 9, Jim, Stacy, Hal, or some combination will be here in this room.
So, because there's so much visually you have to look at.
Yeah, that's what the next thing I was going to ask about, the mechanics of this.
So I guess I can throw this out there. If you would like, then on Friday I can drive back up and we can sit around the computer and do this.
Maybe that's worthwhile.
Because there is, you'll be shifting around constantly between what you see, and then you'll spot something and say, well, that doesn't fit.
It'll make it go a lot faster. I think it's probably worth your travel time.
And I can be there as long as you need at that point.
I'm good with that. I don't like to spend money.
Well,
I think this is probably worth it.
we're doing really well, and this is all an investment. So I got no problem with this.
See you at 9 o'clock here at the City Hall.
No problem.
Can I
Bring the other truck.
Can I ask Chip a question just briefly?
Sure.
My one concern about consolidating things into miscellaneous is that sometimes we don't ever get any answers as to things that are left in the original budget. For instance, a while back I asked, what is other pay that is in the sewer plant budget? You got regular pay, you got overtime pay, you got vacation, holiday, sick, and at the time, the mayor said to me, go speak to Tom, and Tom said, I don't know what other pay is, but if Tom doesn't know what other pay is, and it went from a budgeted amount of $16,000 in, wait, let me get that straight.
So, Ann, if I could interrupt.
We need to look back is what I'm trying to say.
Here's my answer to that is you're right, but that's not this conversation. It's the
Okay.
first conversation we talked about, right?
Okay.
That's where we're going to look for the anomalies and the things that we want to investigate. And nothing they're doing is going to take away any detail
Okay.
for what we're working on right now, okay?
Right.
Okay.
And really, your answer lies in what do they put on their timesheet to know where to charge it? Because if their timesheet doesn't relate to expenditure accounts, I don't know who's getting to choose.
Right. Okay, so last thing, and I want to try and get us out of here in the next 5 or 6 minutes because it's Chip's anniversary today. And we all have, Pam and I have somewhere we have to be too, because we're getting ready to spend the whole day on the lake tomorrow, peeing in a cup.
You want to know how we pee in a cup? We come.
I heard somebody, I think I read Phil's latest thing, and it said that some people pee into a sponge. I thought that was a pretty creative idea, actually.
Anyways,
Just cross the border, it's the other
That's
people's
what
water.
he says to me.
Jump in the water.
We're running the kayaks for long-distance swimmers on here tomorrow.
join.
Oh, it's Henry.
Why are you doing that?
I think Chip's bringing his wife to Newport for their anniversary.
That's right.
All I want to know is Chip going to be at the meeting on Monday night.
I have not required it. I told him he was invited, but not required. All right, so let me just run. We don't have to. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Chip, if you're here Monday and Tuesday, I think Stacy and I are gonna sit down with you for a little bit. About this kind of account business. She's the one that has to sign all the accounts and put pay where it belongs and all that stuff.
Yes, I want to be able to sit with your staff. I want to sit at the department head meeting on Tuesday and participate in all I can and try to circumvent the auditors from getting into areas that are not big fish, because we need big fish covered.
Okay, so can I just run the timeline that we talked about with Kathleen?
Love it.
All right. Hold on just a second. I need to remind. So then we got to what I think is actually the fun part that motivates me. This all feels pretty, this is not my stuff, right? It all has to be done. But here's what I really want us to be dreaming toward. So here's the timeline that Kathleen and Carter and I raised, which we can talk about sometime in the next couple of weeks. It doesn't have to be done immediately. So summer, meaning August, September, the next 2 months, our goals would be to review all of what is currently involved in each line item in the budget, doing that deep dive we've talked about, and making recommendations to council about any budget adjustments that need to be made no later than mid-September so that we can adjust them in advance of the second quarter. So that by the end of September, council has acted on any recommendations to adjust the budget or to adjust our spending plan. We won't change the budget, but we'll address our spending plan if needed. Okay? Then October, November, having been informed by the audit that is due in early October, the department heads would be asked for this year to name their priorities when they're budgeting, like what, or their kind of program priorities. What are the most important things they want to do? Tom wants to pave a certain number of miles of street. Mike wants to do a certain kind of programming with kids, whatever. And they would name 4, 5, 6 priorities that they're trying to address, maybe more, I don't know. And then we're going to ask them to categorize all of their spending according to those priorities. So that we're taking the first steps toward beginning to think not about just what have we always done, but what is it we're trying to accomplish, and how much of our resource are we spending on accomplishing it. So you can picture when we're done that, pie charts that say here's the rec department, there were 7 priorities, and here's how much got spent in each of those areas, or here's how much we budgeted for each of those areas. That's what we're headed for, okay? So this would be as we work on not this year's budget, but next year's budget for 26-27. And then we would do a presentation of those priorities for the coming budget in a public forum, basically in a regular open council meeting. So the council, by early to mid-November, would have a first run at what the department heads say they're trying to accomplish and how their resources are, how they propose to allocate their resources to do it. Then, in December and January, council would have the opportunity to review the proposed budget, to ask questions, and here's our really fun idea. Are you ready? On January 10th, we have our first ever New Year, Newport, New Budget community party. And it will be the equivalent, it'll be our version of an actual town meeting that we lost when we went to an Australian ballot. And it will happen early enough that insight that we receive in that day can actually still be incorporated into the budgeting process if appropriate. So we're thinking kids' activities, a good sound system in the gymnasium, and kids are downstairs. I don't know how or where or what we'll do, but some way we would have a budget. It would be a community potluck. I want hot dogs like they get in Lowell, right? Whatever. And then we would do basically a review of the budget, showing all the pie charts to the community, and ask how it lands for them, and any community advice they would like to offer. That's on the 10th. Then the week of the 12th, we would call Budget Week. And all of the department heads and the council would commit, and maybe this group, if it's still around, we would all commit to really work on trying to make any final adjustments or tweaks based on what we've learned on the 10th during that budget week. And then finally, council before the end of January would approve the budget, and we would have it ready to go to Memphremagog Press to be printed so that it can be distributed right around the last of January or the first couple of days of February.
Where are the questions that looking at a budget, individual citizens can ask questions about it? It's not in this community day, I wouldn't think.
Sure it is. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
How many hours is that?
Well, I don't know, 3 or 4.
And the whole budget is going, not just the pod.
No, everything. Everything would be available.
So it'd be like
It's a
Saturday,
town meeting.
so it would be
It's a Saturday town meeting.
Saturday town
that you would normally do that kind of questioning in any other town that we've given up the opportunity for in recent years. Or
Well, and
I don't know when it
we
started.
really have a good reason to do this because of all the stuff we've gone through. This is where we get the community what they've recommended for the space this type of budgeting.
Exactly.
Is to have the community say, well, what is that? What are you doing with that? Why are we, and maybe what about this?
Then February is dedicated to community education about the budget that we've now created. March 3rd is our special town meeting by Australian ballot with, of course, the evening meeting the night before, which we all know is really not an effective time for people to have input. That's the whole point, right? But we'll hold it like we always do. Then in May, here's another really fun one. We create something similar that we call a community budget priority party. And this is what moves us toward what I've been listening to podcast after podcast about around priority-based budgeting. This is where we begin by then moving toward a place where the members of the community can show up and we dream together, what do we really want to have happening in the community, long before we're looking at real numbers. And we're just naming priorities. So that for the summer, the department heads and the council can look at the community priorities and the budgeting we've been doing. And when we start our budgeting for 27-28 in the fall of next year, we're beginning with an actual basis for that conversation from this community prioritization conversation we've had. Did I miss anything? I think that's it.
I just want to highlight again, this is a way for us to do the deep dive, to then begin to take a look at what each department is actually responsible for and dedicated to. Sometimes there's overlap, and then being able to name and own, this is what it takes to run a wastewater treatment facility, and just basically being able to see tangible goals, priorities, whatever label you want to put it on. But then it gives it voice back to the residents, back to the community. Look at this pie chart. This is how much we spend on rec programming for 0 to 6-year-olds. Is that good? Yeah, that seems okay. This is how much it takes for adult programming. Then we're able to actually identify and look at the budget, somewhat color-coded, to understand what do all these lines mean. So it's a little bit, hopefully there's some back and forth so that we actually come to a consensus-based budget. And then from there, we can go and dream big for Newport. But again, we
That's
gotta
a
get
great
rid of
summary.
12. Then we'll go into the next budget. We just keep building on what the trust and transparency and communication we've been trying.
So we'd like to come back to all of you and go much deeper into this and try and flesh out the details of how we would make it all work. But the part of what we were trying to do is figure out, well, given where we are, you can't just say, tomorrow we're doing a whole new kind of budgeting, right? For one thing, people in this community don't feel like their opinions are going to be taken seriously.
Right.
So part of what we're trying to do is spend the next 8 months or whatever helping people learn that we really are trying to hear what their concerns are, and they do have a voice in the process, so that when we do this first effort and an actual, what do we want in our community, more than 13 people show up, right? We actually have a group of people who show up and want to participate in the process with us.
So when I was on the VLCT call a week or two ago with you guys, this is the one thing that I heard, and with the budgeting, I think this is a piece. We have no idea what we're actually paying employees. I mean, I'm sure
We will know
somewhere-
though.
No, I'm saying, that's
Right,
what I'm
right
saying.
now, you're right.
Right now, we don't know how much a public works employee makes because their salary isn't all over the place.
Right.
And so what I heard in that meeting was you want, the priority means really what does the community want and need, but you've got to back out like specific costs. You have to have the cost of your employees and insurance and those kind of things. And then, because we could say we want all this stuff, but do we need to hire more employees? Are we going to have, what kind of money are we talking about? And until we know how much our employees are, what we're putting out
short
in salary.
two answers to that, Lori. You're right. One is that's what CHIPS coding is going to get us to. We'll be able to produce a pie chart within a matter of months that will show exactly what employees cost us in this community, right? Because we'll have it coded in such a way that we can hit a button and print that report. It's not lost on me, and it shouldn't go unsaid, that we're going to have to negotiate union contracts for, I think, the Department of Public Works for this fall for next year. So one of the reasons we start this conversation now is so that those talks are informed by where we think we actually want to go with our budgeting. Right, so that it's not, because you're right. If we negotiate a contract that says this is what's fixed and this is how many employees you have to have, then there's no messing with that. So the goal is to try and make sure we're trying to do those things at the same time.
So I want to jump in and explain that one thing you do not want to do is create a series of budget expense lines every year for the different priorities.
Right.
Because your comparative budget will mean nothing.
No, I agree, Chip, but we do, I think, want one of your number codes to correspond to those priorities so that we can print something that shows us this is all of what went into that priority this year. Does that sound reasonable to you?
That would mean that you intend to budget to it, and the following year, when that's not a priority, there'll be no budget, so what are you going to compare to?
Yeah, because you
That's
wind
the
up
difficulty in the
I see.
concept that if every year you have 6 different priorities for 6 different departments, and each one has 20 lines, expand that out over 3 years, and how many numbers did you add to your chart of accounts for that?
All right, so let's talk about that, because I suspect there's a way to do it that satisfies the need I'm feeling, that doesn't screw us up.
Yeah, I think it would be like, okay, here's your account, and then you've got some sub things or a spreadsheet, not that we want to go there, but the sub accounts that would, like 01, 02, 03, 04 that would feed to the 00 main account. I don't know.
We'll figure that
Yeah,
out. I hear the concern. We'll sort it.
Yeah.
Joseph, and we really got to quit. Go ahead, Joseph.
I hear that you're working out very high-level priorities for the city, and clearly that is the job of the mayor of the council. What I haven't heard in a long time is any thoughts about hiring a city manager to actually carry out the work that you're creating, because I see you and I see you and the rest of the members of the city council, all of you have lives that do not allow you to be here all the time supervising and doing the things that a city manager does. Where does hiring a city manager fit into those plans?
In my mind, when we have our deep dive on this year's budget done, and I feel some confidence that I don't currently feel that there's room in that budget for some portion of this fiscal year to have a city manager, that's the point at which we begin crafting the process for hiring a city manager, which is going to include writing a job description, because I'm not assuming that we're just starting with the one that we got, because I think the job has actually changed over the last, it's changed. And I suspect that whatever process we follow, given the experience I've had so far on the council, you're looking at a 6-month project to hire somebody minimum. So my goal would be that by mid to late fall, we have enough information to know when we could theoretically, or in real terms, when we could actually hire someone. And I certainly would expect that we'd be trying to hire by no later than the end of this fiscal year. I'd love to do it earlier. The good news for us is we just hired somebody who I think is going to be fabulous for trying to relieve some of the day-to-day pressure in our financial and office administrator. So that'll take some of the grunt work. But in the long run, you're absolutely right. We need a city manager.
I wonder, there was a large conflict last time between who was, quote, boss, the city manager or the mayor. And it comes from the charter. And the mayor is clearly boss when there's no city manager. I think you might be able to meld the two concepts together. But the other option is to hire somebody who's called something else, whether it's financial manager or whatever, and then you guys determine what that person does and how much control they have, and you're not in an argument with the person who comes in who says, no, I'm the city manager, I do all of these things that it says in the charter now, and you don't do anything anymore but decoration. So just a thought.
Because
I hear
the
you.
charter does say.
So one other thing is that it's increasingly clear to me that we should be moving on a charter review much more quickly than I had initially thought. And there are a number of reasons for that, at least 3 that I won't try to articulate today, that demand a higher level of alacrity. So I think we'll probably be actually talking about charter review work this fall and aiming for something that might even go on the ballot if we've held our appropriate public meetings for March, that could then go in the next legislative session. I reviewed that today with Kathleen in terms of the timing. So we could theoretically have a new charter in place that tries to clarify. And this is one of those 3 items that we'd need to make sure we're clear about. Okay?
All right. Go team. See
Have
you
dinner
Monday.
tonight. Do something fun with your wife, Chip.
Have a great weekend.
Go out on the deck, that's all.
All right.